We have been getting so many questions over the last few days about Zoom and the privacy concerns. We've all seen articles in the newspapers about Zoom being routed through Chinese servers and people Zoom bombing classrooms with pornography and other issues. And we've had some parents ask about this. So I just wanted to make a video that would sort of walk you through some of the security issues about Zoom and how you can manage that. At this point, CREC continues to authorize Zoom as a video conferencing tool for us. The company has made a lot of changes just in the last 8 or 10 days regarding privacy to help us work with some of those concerns. I think all of these video conferencing platforms have had to make a lot of adjustments as more and more people have jumped in to use their products. And so this video is going to be just a bit longer than my usual ones, but I just want to walk you through this, and I think this is important so that you can make sure your meetings are private and that you are in control of your meeting and not someone else. So I'm going to start off right here in my Zoom profile. If you log into your Zoom account, you will come to this page, and this is where you need to manage these things. You can't manage these settings through the app on your phone. You can communicate through the app on your phone, but you need to be uh, in your account on a computer or a Chromebook or whatever to access these settings. I will also say, since I just logged on here for the morning, when you see these important notices at the top and it says please read these articles for step-by-step instructions, you should do that. These are the attempts by the company to continually update their privacy issues, and it will prompt you with changes because what I'm going to show you today may not be the same tomorrow. In fact, it may not even be the same if you log on when you finish watching this video today. They are changing things rather rapidly. So we'll do our best, and I think the settings will be similar, if not the same, throughout. So the first thing you want to do is to go to, on the side over here, you're going to scroll down and click your settings. These are settings that will help you control how things work in Zoom. So I'm going to tap and see if we can go into that screen. And it's taking a moment for my internet to work here, but there we go. We'll all be patient together. There are a number of settings here that will help you be in control. So I just want to scroll down the page here and kind of review them with you. Most of the settings you can leave as they are, but I want you to start checking a few. Join before host. Mine is default to an off setting. Make sure that you have yours in an off setting, because otherwise, if you have set up a room, let's say for a group of your students or for a group of parents, and they log on before you, suddenly they're in the room talking to each other. The parents may not know each other. The students may engage in inappropriate behaviors with each other. You don't want people in the room before you. So if you've set a meeting for a certain time, try to be there a few minutes early and make sure that this is not on. Don't let people join that room before you get there. You want to scroll down a bit, and I would say you probably want to turn on only authenticated users can join. And what that means is they have to have a Zoom account. So you can let parents know ahead of time if you're going to use Zoom, and they can set up an account. It's free, so it's not going to cost them anything, but that helps keep outsiders from just sort of jumping in. Require a password when scheduling new meetings. At the moment in my account, Zoom has locked this in an on position. I can't even turn it off. So there's going to be a password for every meeting. I'll show you how to make that easy for your families in just a moment. Certainly a password for instant meetings, although I don't think any of us are having instant meetings. But here's where you can make it easier. If you're going to send out a link to your room, click this link and join me for this meeting, you can embed the password into that link. So people who have that link, people that you've sent the link to, can join the meeting without having to type in a password. So you're making it easy for the people on your end. You're making it more difficult for people who might be trying to sneak into your room without proper authorization. As we come on down, I would suggest that you turn off these chat and private chat features, especially the private chat. If you've been in a room, you may not have noticed, but you can pop open a side panel, and we'll take a look at that in a moment, I think, where you can chat with each other. That might be okay in a typical classroom situation where a teacher is talking, but you want a place for students to ask questions without interrupting you so they can post their questions. But you certainly don't want them to have private chats with each other. You may be trying to talk to a group of students and they could be engaging in a separate chat that you know nothing about. So make sure you've turned that off. And I would recommend that you just turn off the chat. I don't think we're not teaching in a standard classroom setting. I think if people want to ask questions or participate, they can speak up and say so. I would turn that off as well. And we do want to turn that off. It's going to prompt you because it's going to say, oh, but what if you try to save the chats? Well, if you're not letting anybody chat, nobody's going to save it. If you are doing an activity with students, I would turn off this file transfer because this allows the participants to send files back and forth to each other. And you don't really want them to be doing that. So I would turn that one off as well, particularly if you're going to be working with students. As we come on down further, who can share their screen? Now, this is where the Zoom bombing happens. People jump into a room that they're not authorized to do. They immediately share their screen with everyone in the room. Their screen has some inappropriate picture or text on it, and boom, everyone's been Zoom bombed. But if you make it so that only the host can share, then you're all set. You can save that setting and then only you can share. If you get into a meeting and you need to adjust that, you can adjust that from inside the meeting. Now, I'm going to cancel that because I'm not meeting with students and that's not my concern at the moment. You can disable desktop and screen sharing, and that's fine. You should also do that, I think, if you're meeting with students. Remote control. You want to, during screen sharing, who can control other people's computers? You probably want to turn that off as well. You want to turn this one off also. You don't want removed participants to rejoin. If someone's being inappropriate and you remove them from the room for the day, you don't want them to be able to come back. And if you're working with students, I would have some question about this. The default is on so that participants can rename themselves, because sometimes if they're using an iPad that's logging on as a phone number, they may just show up as a number instead of having their name, and they can rename that to say Emil. Students can also rename it in inappropriate ways. So I'm just not sure that I would leave that available. Finally, you want to make sure that far end camera control is turned off. This means that other people in the room could take control of your camera and turn it on or off. You don't want that. There's been a lot of buzz with Zoom about the cool virtual background, so that instead of the bookshelf behind me, which is real, I could make it look like I'm sitting on a beach or walking in the forest. Kind of a cool effect, but it's taken up a lot of bandwidth, and you don't really want people playing with that in your meetings. I would turn that off as well. Let's see, is there anything here? Yes. Waiting room turned on. That means that no one can join until the host admits them. So that's sort of where they would go if they got there before you. They would go into a waiting room. But it also means if someone comes in late to the meeting, they can't just jump into the meeting. You will get a notice on your screen that someone is waiting to be invited in. You can look and see who they are. If it's not a name or a person you recognize, then you don't have to let them in. That's another way to block unauthorized people. So, these, when attendees join the meeting before the host, that's going to be off because you're going to turn everything off for them joining before the host, and you're all set. That's all the settings that relate to privacy. There's a lot of them, and that's just for the privacy settings inside your settings. Now, we want to go to setting up a meeting. So I'm going to click on my meetings link. We will again all wait patiently together while that screen loads. Seems like everything on the internet is slow today. I don't know what's going on. We are going to schedule a new meeting. And so when I click to schedule a new meeting, it's going to give us a few extra settings that we can play with. And here we go. So this is where you would name your meeting when this all becomes available. You would set up the time that the meeting is going to happen, the length of your meeting, etc. If you're requiring a meeting password, this is where the password is going to be, just in case you want to look at that and save it. It'll go away in a moment so that it's hidden, but you can just hit that and change it to whatever you want it to be so that it's a word that you know, so that if someone does have to ask, but since you're already including it in the link, that's not quite as an essential thing. Farther down at the end, you want to make sure you've enabled that waiting room. And again, you want to make sure that there's no check here where people can join before the host. Then you would save those settings and you would be all set. Now, I had to sort of fake a meeting a little bit with myself, so I'm going to pop open a couple of things just to show you. When you're in the meeting and you're seeing this window, down at the bottom you will see a thing that lets you pop out these participants. It's a little panel on the side. This lets you control the room. You can mute someone if they're being inappropriate. Maybe you just mute them because there's a lot of background noise in their home or office and it's disrupting other people from hearing. So you can mute their microphone, then you can unmute it when it's time for them to speak. If someone's being inappropriate, you can even mute their video so that you can just turn them off and they're not going to be visible. So all that will show up is like this icon here in the middle. That was me. That was what you could see. I'm there. I can hear you. I can see what you're doing, but nobody in the room can hear me or see me because I've been turned off by the host. If you're working with a group of students and they're all kind of chatting and you want them to stop and just listen to you, down here in the lower corner, you can just mute all. Turn them all off, then you can unmute them all, turn them back on after you finish talking. And I want to bring up one other window because I want to show you this More menu down here in the corner. You see where the More is? That's what I want to show you. If you click on that link, you'll get a pop-up menu, and one of the options is to lock the meeting. This is a thing you can do if you know that 6 people are expected to be at this meeting. When all 6 people are there, just lock it down. No one else can even come to your waiting room. You're all set. It's one more step in making sure that no one can sneak into your room for Zoom bombing or to record anything that's happening. So a final step in letting you be in control of your meeting. So hopefully this helps. Now, the last thing I will tell you, and I can't show you this, but the last thing I will tell you, let me bring this back up, is at the bottom down here it says End Meeting. Now when I have this panel open you can't see it, but in a meeting at the bottom it says End Meeting, and that's how you get out of the meeting. When you click that link, you get a choice. Do you want to leave the meeting and end it? Or do you want to end the meeting for all? You always want to choose End Meeting for All. You don't want to leave the room and leave a group of students there to just sit and chat with each other and maybe engage in inappropriate things. You don't want to leave parents behind or anyone behind. You are the host of the meeting. You're in charge of the meeting. When it ends, you end it. If those people need to talk to each other, they're on their own. But you don't want them doing it through something that you set up as a representative of River Street. Now, I know that's a lot, but these are important tools. I think if you know that you're doing these things, and if you know that the companies like Zoom are constantly working to improve their privacy, then you can in turn try to make parents feel comfortable that we're making good choices and using due diligence in trying to protect the privacy of our conversations with the families and to protect the privacies of their students. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. I'll be happy to help.